At some things come full circle, and the episode resumes. The suspenseful music that plays really hammers in the suspense on what is coming next. In the fairy tale final season, episode 13, this is the angry anime fan, and this is the summary of that chapter. We at long last learn what Fairy Harto really is. It is actually, as we all know, it is Mavis's body, but it's a little bit complicated than that, at least more than we thought. Seraph walked back with after kissing Mavis. Seraph seemingly killed her, which once again just hammers on what kind of tragic villain Seraph is. The only time he really thought he could had happiness, he was denied even that. So it's no wonder he is extremely apathetic towards humankind and the world in itself. So he walked back to the fairy tale guild with Mavis's body. The only one who saw him was none other than Precto, who, as many people know him as Hadeso. So Seraph dumped Mavis's body right there and there, and then went back to his Ishgar, saying that he should go his board game again. But according to Precto, Mavis still had magic in her dead body, so he began to try many resurrectional magic spells as after encasing her into a lacrima that was down the guild. He never told anyone because it didn't take that long for him to realize what kind of curse Mavis had, and the fact that Mavis was the reason why the wife of Yuri died, and he couldn't he couldn't allow anyone to know that. It would have been the most tragic thing ever. So he alone shouldered the burden. In fact, even this seems to imply something. It's not so very strong, more than the fact that it may not be so. But Precto, who was Hadeso, it's never really 100% explained why Hades went down the path of darkness. Although he did say that magic was once one and he believed that all magic was darkness, and he didn't care what kind of path he took. Sorry. In order to learn that. Here it is mildly implied that all the times trying to do all these different resurrection spells made Prekte dive into the dark arts, and that in the end twisted his mind. Basically, love made him evil, and in the end, the fact that he couldn't resurrect Mavis's body, instead doing something else, I think in the end that made him very apathetic towards the light, and that's how Hades was born. Because from the experiments, he presumably didn't revive Mavis's body, but what he did was creating a new type of magic. The combination of the curse of Anxeram, the lacrima that Mavis was inside, as well as the many, many resurrectional spells that Precto did, created Fairy Hartu, which actually is infinitive magic. Basically, if you could harness the power of Mavis and Fairy Heart into, ether or something like that, Etherion, then it could fire infinitively. That is the power of Fairy Hatu. And more than that, it's seeing that it's infinite. It's not even known if it can be controlled. That is why Makarov have been so reluctant in using her, or using that power. And he suspects that Sereth and gang of Alvarez is after Mavis's Etherios because they needed to defeat Acnologia. Yeah, that's just how powerful Acnologia really is. Speaking of Alvarez, it turns out that an annoying dimensional guy is not dead. He was just shrunk to a size of a handprint and is now Brandish's personal slave. Although Brandish is still extremely sexy. So I guess it is what it is. However, then a meeting of Alvarez starts, as we are then introduced to the rest, well, not the rest, but many of the Springen Ten. Springen is Seraph, he is the emperor and thus has full authority over every single one of the members. However, Makarov, during his time in Alvarez, only met a couple of them. The first one he mentioned is Invel, who is Serif's chief of staff, arguably the one who is most loyal to him. Invel, the Winter General. It's not exactly known what kind of winter magic he uses, but apparently he has powerful ice magic. Aegil, the Desert King, the one who controlled the sand, an extremely arrogant man, but also the most who is mostly the most aggressive of them all. Brandish, the Continent Shifter, or well, maybe Continent Destroyer. Despite the fact that she feels like some things is a drag, she will follow orders anyway because, well, that is how it is, so to speak. I mean, the Nation Destroyer, that's her name. And Dihamara, the Warrior Queen, or Warrior Princess, maybe something like that. Yeah, the Warrior Queen it is. It's not known what magic she has, although that she also carries a very arrogant aura to herself, and the fact that she seems to taunt, maybe even flirt with Brandish. What is it with Hiromashima creating these psycho lesbians? But then again, that's beside the point. It's it is what it is. Goto Serena, the former member of Wizard of Saints, have joined Alvarez. It's not exactly known why he has. In fact, he is not even minding doing all of this destroying Ishval. He's even looking forward to it. So yeah, he's a very big disappointment. We don't even know what kind of power he has, but well, he is an arrogant man that I have a feeling deserves death. So, and finally, the one he knows of is Augusto, the Winter, no, the Wizard King. Apparently, according to Makarov, his magic is on an entire different level compared to any of the other wizard saints. He very likely may know every single magic more than Chef himself. Why do I have a feeling like he may actually be very strange of it all? We even see a silhouette of saying that he may have a berserker mode or something. We don't know. After that, Makarov only knows the name of three more: Balatman, Nineharto, as well as Wall, who we actually see in this meeting, a very strange man. And so the meetings begins between Fairy Tale and also the other meetings of the Spring and Tem. Aegil is fully believable that he can take down the entire of Ishval himself. Oh, you are an arrogant man. An arrogant man only deserves the boot in their faces, because Fairy Tale won't be that strong. They may have the disadvantage when it comes to forces, but what Fairy Tale have is bonds, unshakable faith, and ability to turn that into blades that can pierce through anything. So I believe they must triumph. But they still shouldn't underestimate the opponents they have. For whatever they have dangerous people ahead of them. That's basically this episode. As I said before, the suspenseful magic playing, the fact that we finally know the truth of Fairy Heart made this episode a very suspenseful. It played up its suspenseful very well here, introducing to all the characters. You can really feel like, oh, this is strange, and but the fact is, the beginning was also good. Uh, Once again, that implication that the biggest problem that people have had is why is why did Precht became Hades? Well, again, this may be the minor hint that all of his obsession of trying to no, revive Mavis in the end made him delve into the dark arts, and that's is what happened. It's worth noting that Yuri Dreyer, Makarov's father, died 3 years after this happened, and in the end, Hades, no Precto, did create an empty grave on Tenro Island, which was Mavis' homeland, and told everyone she died. It's not known why Yuri died so early, but if I have to make a guess, I have a feeling he died of despair. He lost his wife and and he thought he lost the person he swore to protect, meaning that in the end he had lost his very reason to live. It may also be very well why Makarov had never even talked about his father, because he was too young to remember his father, and probably because his father just wasn't there. It also probably means why he was so upset when he saw Precht became Hades. It wouldn't surprise me if Hades basically raised him. So that's basically this episode. I'm looking forward to next. Give me your thoughts if you have any.